And now we're on the fourth book, Communicating. And so the author says, may Allah Ta'ala have mercy upon him. There still remains matters pertaining to communication, like enunciating clearly and speaking properly. That's very important for the intelligent Muslim. And if you come from a culture or a society that praises ignorance, that glorifies ignorance, then you might avoid enunciating clearly and speaking properly. This is a good thing here. But yes, you might speak like the way the people around you speak, even if that's improper version of the language, informal slang version of the language. You might speak like that, especially if there's a religious benefit in doing so. Then if you got a religious benefit in doing so, then do it. But don't embrace a culture of ignorance. And listening to others, very important skill to have. The ability to listen to another person when they're speaking. So what are you going to do when someone's speaking to you? Put your phone down, for example. Or stop tinkering with your computer while someone's talking to you. And you just face that person and give them your attention and listen to what the person is saying. Think about what the person's saying to you. While the person's talking to you, you might want to stop that person and say, wait, hold on a second. Let me make sure I'm following you. So you're saying this, this, and this? So they might say, yes, that's right. So you say, okay, go ahead. Or you might say, so you're saying this, this, and this? They might say, no, 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 that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, so you say, okay, clarify this for me. You listen to what another person has to say in all sorts of situations, even during an argument or a debate, for example, which we'll come to talk about. So that's an important skill to have, especially if you answer religious questions. Let the person finish what he has to say. Don't make it your habit to cut the person off and then interject and answer before he finishes saying all of what he wants to say. But it is possible sometimes that you really know where a person's going. So you say, like I might say sometimes, hold on, let me stop you. Because a lot of times people have a tendency to ramble. So I might let a person ramble a little bit until it's very clear for me they're going to ramble here. The point is clear. And then I'll say, hold on a second. Let me stop you real quick. And asking and answering questions. How to ask the questions, very important. That you ask your questions clearly. Some of you I've told you before, and even you've improved, to be honest with you. Some of you, you know who you are. The scholar said, حُسْنُ السُّؤَالِ نِصْفُ الْعِلْمِ. Perfecting the question is half of the knowledge. So asking questions and answering questions, this is very important to be able to do both of those well. And what's going to help you to ask properly and answer properly? What's going to help you do that is to have an idea of what the answer should look like. Now, you're not going to ask a question you're not going to formulate a question just to get the answer you want. No, because you want the truth. You want what's correct and you want what's true. You don't want to just hear an answer you want. But what I'm saying is, if you want to make sure you're posing your question right, you're asking well, and that you're answering the question well, then it helps to have an idea of what the answer should look like. And some answers require a yes or a no. So that might be what you know your answer should be. You want the answer to be a yes or a no. So you're going to ask your question. You're going to ask a question that the answer to this question is yes or no. Then, if it were me, I'm not going to accept other than yes or no when I ask you a question. That's not a debate tactic, by the way. Yani, I was just talking to a person about this. I'm saying to the person, why you just don't answer my question for me? Yeah, this is a friend here I was talking to. Why you don't just answer my question for me? I don't feel like going back and forth with you. It's not an issue why you going back and forth. You know, Yani, it's like you're not being honest with me here. It's just yes or no. I'm asking you. I ask you the question and you tell me something else. So, yeah, but you know, you don't have to use your debate tactics on me. I'm not using debate tactics on you. I just want you to answer my question. I didn't ask you the question to just talk. I didn't just, I didn't ask the question just so I can say sounds out of my mouth. So I want you to actually answer me. And the answer to my question is going to be a yes or a no. So, Yani, I suggest that when the answer to your question is yes or no, then you don't accept anything other than the yes or the no. To me, I don't even hear anything. If all I want to hear is the yes or the no. Everything else is like noise. And Yani, same thing if I'm answering the question. You ask me something so many times too. Yeah, let me finish this here. It says some answers require yes or no, or this or that. Yani, sometimes the answer is this or is that. So that's similar. Yes or no, or this or that. So I'm asking you a question. I know the answer to the question is this or that. So that's all I want to hear. So I have a tunnel vision in that way. And that's how you're going to stay on point. You're not going to let somebody take you off of your topic. You're not going to let somebody talk you in circles. Or the answer to the question could be an elaboration. Yeah, and it means explain. So even myself, if I'm answering the question, sometimes it's like some of you brothers and sisters, you don't know your own question. You ask me a question, and then the answer might be yes or no. So I'll say yes, or I'll say no, and then you're like, "What do you mean?" Shoot, what do I mean? It's your question. You don't know what you're asking me. And also, amongst the important matters of communication is knowing how to debate. Well, we won't go into details here, though. But mashallah, we went over how to debate the so-called Salafi. Has good pointers in there for you. Also, there's another booklet similar to that one, which is Sunni Wahhabi Dialogue, that has very good pointers for debate in there. Being informative is at least by saying an amount that is fine for a speaker to stop upon without leaving the listener waiting. What does that mean? This means when you're talking to someone, you want to say something that's informative. How do you know if what you're saying is informative? What you're saying is informative if you can say as much as you said and then stop without leaving the listener waiting. So, for example, if someone said to you, "Where is Zaid?" And so you said, "Zaid is in the house." And that's all you said. So that's informative there. You can say that much information and then stop talking. When you stop talking there, that's fine. Saying this amount, Zaid is in the house. Stop. Saying this amount is fine for you to stop upon, and it doesn't leave the listener waiting. As opposed to, for example, if you entered into a room and you said, "Wallahi, I swear to God," and then you stopped. So then whoever is in the room, they're going to look at you and they're going to say, "What?" So they're still waiting. So for you to just say, "I swear to God," that's really not enough to stop there because it leaves the listener waiting. So what do you need to do? You need to say what you're swearing about. You say, for example, I swear to God, I'll never do that again, for example. Now, that's sufficient for you to stop. Yani, assuming that the person knows what you're talking about. If he doesn't know what you're talking about, he'll say, What are you talking about? Or another example of something that's not informative is like if you state a condition and you don't say the consequence of this condition. Like if you say, when my father comes home, and then you stop. So the listener is still waiting for you. So he says, what? What about it? What's going to happen when your father comes home? So this is not fine for you to stop upon as a speaker because it leaves your listener waiting. So being informative is at least by saying an amount that is fine for a speaker to stop upon without leaving the listener waiting. And then, Yani, if you want to speak well and communicate well, say your piece. Yani, have in your mind what you want to say. Then you say what you want to say from the beginning to the end. And if you can, keep it short and say all of what you want to say and then stop. And that's it. One of the things that requires patience when listening to the questions of some people is letting them say all of what they want to say. A lot of people ramble, they keep talking, they won't stop talking. It's like they can't determine that what they said is clear, so they're going to keep talking. So be informative, be clear, say your piece, say what's on your mind, say the issue you want to say a clear sentence, and then stop talking. Then let your listener react to what you said. And be always correct and accurate, O well spoken Muslim. Allah says in the 70th verse of Surah Al Ahzab, يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا. O those who have believed, fear Allah and say an accurate statement. Say something correct. وَقُولُوا قَوْلًا سَدِيدًا. So that means then, what do we say here? Be always accurate. The word always is important here. Be always correct and accurate, O well-spoken Muslim. Yani, make it your goal to be correct in what you are saying 100% of the time. If it's your goal to be correct 100% of the time, then maybe you might be correct 98% of the time, or 99 or 97% of the time. So that's what you want. As humans, we are liable to make mistakes. So 100% of the time, that's the goal that we're not going to achieve, but still is the goal, so that you can get as close to that percentage as possible. Some people, they don't care if what they're saying is right or not. Is it accurate or not? That's why in the news, they'll say to you, we're going to keep you updated with developments as they come. So it means they really don't know. They're telling you whatever is there. Any information we have, here it is. They don't know. Is it true or is it not true? We're going to keep you posted. Don't say something without knowing that it's true. And saying something good is better than being silent. Yani, it's possible to be silent, and as a result of being silent, you miss something good to say. So saying something good is better than being silent. And being silent is better than saying something without goodness. And saying something without goodness includes profanity and joking. A lot of times jokes have no goodness in them. It's possible to kid around a little bit. That's what the Prophet did. He joked a little bit. And saying something because it is true is not always good. Yani, if your position is that you're going to say something simply because it's true, then this means that you're not wise and you don't have a filter. You have to have a filter, or you're just a fool. Thus, the Prophet ﷺ said, كفى بالمرء كذبا أن يحدث بكل ما سمع, narrated by Muslim. It is enough of a lie for a person to tell all that he heard, meaning this is dispraised. Have a filter. Don't say everything that has passed by you. Why are you going to say something? You're going to say it because it's beneficial, not because it's true. A lie is something said contrary to reality. That means while knowing reality. It's a sinful lie if you know reality. A lie is something said contrary to reality. And when you know reality and you say a lie, then you're sinful. If you don't know reality and so you say what is untrue, it is valid to call that a lie, but then doesn't mean the person is necessarily sinful. And a pun or wordplay is not a lie. And it's not necessarily haram either. It's not obligatory to only speak literally. It's not a sin to say figures of speech. Also, sarcasm is intended for mockery, not lying. So don't deem a sarcastic statement a lie. Yani, it's not a condition. Are there some rules pertaining to sarcasm? Is it sometimes sarcasm is permissible, sometimes not permissible? I haven't learned. I haven't taken any details about how to regulate sarcasm in your life as a Muslim, but it's not haram across the board, that's for sure. And you're not going to deem a person as a liar because he's saying a sarcastic statement to you. Rather, what's better for you to do is to understand the point he's trying to make to you. Better than giving this guy a hard time because he didn't say a literal statement, because sarcasm is a type of figure of speech. Better than just ignoring his point and getting on his case for not saying a literal statement. It's better for you to understand his point so that you can move forward with this person. An example of sarcasm is in the book of Allah Ta'ala, when Allah says about the kafir, ذُقْ إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْعَزِيزُ الْكَرِيمُ. Taste the torture, O kafir. ذُقْ إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْعَزِيزُ الْكَرِيمُ. Indeed, you are Aziz and Kareem, you kafir. You are the noble. You are the noble one, you kafir. You are the honorable and noble one. So this is sarcasm. He is not honorable or noble. This ayah is about him being tortured in hell. And his being called Aziz and Kareem is a sarcasm. Or I'll give you another example. How does that go? Surah Al-Nazi'at. قالوا تلك إذا كرة خاسرة. Here. They say, أَإِنَّا لَمَرْدُودُونَ فِي الْحَافِرَةِ. Is it true that we're going to come back to life in the graves after we have died and became decayed bones? We're going to come back to life? قالوا تلك إذا كرة خاسرة. They say, if that's true, then we're going to be losers. Yeah, they are going to be losers. That's the Surah Nazi'at. It's in the beginning of the surah. I don't know the numbers of the ayahs. It's true, they're going to be losers. But what's the meaning of their statement here? When they said, if that's true, we're going to be losers. What they're saying is, that's not true. They say, shall we indeed be restored in the grave? أَإِذَا كُنَّا عِظَامًا نَخِرَةً, after we have become decayed bones? قَالُوا تِلْكَ إِذًا كَرَّةٌ خَاسِرَةٌ, they say, then we're going to be losers. So what does that mean? That means they're saying it's not true. So you need to understand. You need to understand the points that somebody's making to you sometimes. When he says to you indirectly. Not sometimes, all the time. You always should understand the person's point when he's saying something to you. That requires for you to understand figures of speech, though. The religious judgment of explicit statements is that an intention is not required for them. Explicit statement, that means someone said something that doesn't mean anything but one thing. It only means one thing. Someone said something to you that only means one thing. When someone says something that only means one thing, it can't be interpreted in two different ways. Then the religious judgment is that there's no intention needed for this statement. Like in sales and marriage and divorce and blasphemy. This is why the Prophet ﷺ said, ثلاث جدهن جد وهزلهن جد النكاح والطلاق والرجعة. There are three cases. When they are done seriously, they are serious. There are three cases. When serious, they are serious. That means they're valid. And when joking or pretending, they are serious. There are three matters that when they are serious, and when they are for pretend, they are serious. Or when they are for joking, they're still serious. Marriage, divorce, and reinstating the wife. So that means if someone said to a man who has a daughter that he could give away in marriage, someone says to a man who has a daughter that he can give away in marriage, this man is able to, he may validly give his daughter in marriage. So someone says to this man, in the presence of two witnesses, give your daughter in marriage to me. And then that man who is able to give his daughter in marriage says, I accept. Now this marriage is valid even if they were only pretending. Same thing about the divorce. If a man said to his wife, you're divorced, then she's divorced even if he was only pretending. Because that's explicit. Saying you're divorced, that's clear, explicit. Here his intention is meaningless, irrelevant. And so some people are not going to accept from you to deem what they claim is their intention as irrelevant. When they say something explicit and they get themselves into some issue from what they say, and then you call them out on what they said, and they're going to tell you, that's not what I meant. And you're going to tell them, that's what you said, though. So they're basically holding the position that you can't hold against me that what I said because it's not what I meant. So then we're going to take it back to the religious judgment. The religious rule is that that's what you said, and it doesn't mean anything else. And so whatever you claim you meant is irrelevant. So if someone were to say, I don't believe in Allah, you tell them that's blasphemy. You say, I was only playing, bro. I'm only playing, bro. So whether you were playing or you weren't playing. Whether you were serious or you were pretending, you said an explicit statement of blasphemy. You must say the Shahada and come back to Islam now. Likewise goes a normal discussion Do not allow someone to be explicit but then tell you that you are taking his words too literally. That's the person who's going to play games with you. Today I had a conversation with a person who is maybe some sort of a business person. So this guy works in McDonald's. So he's like a manager or something. So, these businesses, they have like pyramid schemes that they do and all sorts of ways that they try to make money behind the scenes. So some people like that, they become fast talkers. So this guy thought he could fast talk me. When he wasn't able to fast talk me, he said, I'm not going to go back and forth with you. He would have gone back and forth with me if he was able to outtalk me. But because he wasn't able to, then he just said, look, I'm not going to go back and forth with you. I wanted to say to him, you can't go back and forth with me anyway. You're not equipped for it. But I didn't say that to him. He said something to me. Then I told him, but you said such and such, which wasn't the words he said. He said, no, I didn't say that. I said, yeah, I know he didn't say that. Say he's playing games with me. I know you didn't say those words. You're not going to play games with me, though. And know that not everyone who speaks a language is an expert at his own language. One may not know an explicit statement from a non-explicit statement in his own tongue. So know that. Don't think just because you speak a language you're an expert, or that the other one is an expert because he speaks that language. A speaker's intention is not sought when the statement is explicit. So that's repetition there. Very important. Engrave that for yourself. Write that down and memorize that. The intention is irrelevant when a statement is explicit. That's religious judgment. If you don't stick to that religious judgment, you're going to let somebody talk circles around you. Had intention mattered for explicit statements, then someone could insult your mother and claim that he praised her. You say, your mom's a horse. You say, what? Say, a horse, man. The horse is a strong worker. So what you're going to say? You say, okay. All right. If that's what you meant then. Or someone might even insult God and his messenger and then claim that he was praising them, for example. He could say, damn God's messenger. And when you call him out on it, you tell him, that's blasphemy. You can't damn God's messenger. Then he would claim to be damning the lightning that God brings down from the sky. He said, no, what I mean, I'm talking about the lightning, bro. Or he would claim he means a scorpion when he says, damn God's messenger. And you say, you can't say that. He said, I'm talking about the scorpion, bro. So what you're going to say, you're going to say, okay. No, you're not going to say, you're going to say, no. That statement, God's messenger, does not mean lightning. God's messenger does not mean lightning, and it does not mean scorpion. So you're saying, damn God's messenger is blasphemy, even if you claim that you mean that you're talking about lightning, or you claim that you mean a scorpion. This is blasphemy, and you must say your shahada. Scholars like Imam al-Haramain said, التأويل البعيد لا يقبل. Far-fetched explanations are unacceptable. It's very important, O intelligent Muslim. Far-fetched explanations are unacceptable. It's like what I just told you. Someone said, damn God's messenger. So you call them out on it. It says, no, I mean the lightning. Tell them, la. التأويل البعيد لا يقبل. Far-fetched explanations are unacceptable. This is blasphemy that you have said. Therefore, intention is relevant for statements having more than one linguistic meaning, not explicit statements. When does one's intention matter? When is one's intention relevant concerning his statement? When the statement could be interpreted in more than one way. Then we're going to see which way he meant it. But when a statement is explicit and has no other way of interpretation, then one's intention is irrelevant. This rule is of the utmost importance. Don't let it go. All right. Let's talk about here general statements. It is not valid to invalidate the use of general statements, meaning general statements are valid, and that is itself a general statement. General statements are valid. That itself is a general statement, because sometimes general statements are not valid. General statement accepts exception. Yani, general statements are susceptible to exclusion. General statement means not 100% of the time is always true, whatever it is you're talking about. It's a generality that's true. So it's important that you know that general statements are valid, and that is a general statement itself. But where you're going to blunder is when you invalidate someone's usage of general statements. You are here, when you invalidate someone's usage of general statements, you are yourself blocking yourself from comprehension. When you say to them, no, you can't speak generally. It's not true all the time. Someone says a generality to you. They say, no, it's not always true. So you say, yeah, I know it's not always true, bro. Or sister, I know it's not always true. So then that person might say, well, so don't talk like that. Nah, you got to be specific all the time. Don't ever use a general statement. No, don't go there. General statements are valid. So don't invalidate them as some people do, especially when cornered in a debate, because general statements exist in the Quran and the Hadith. So we're not going to debunk them altogether. However, some generalities are forbidden, like saying men are dogs. You can't say that because this would include the prophets. So that's an invalid generalization. And generalities, by definition, how are you going to know if a statement is a general statement? By the fact that it is not always true in all scenarios. It's broadly true. That's what makes it a general statement. It's broadly true. And it is susceptible to exclusion. Like when Allah says, Wal asr, innal insana lafi khusr, illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihati wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. By the asr, Allah swears by the asr. Indeed, man is in a state of loss. Yani, indeed, the human being is a loser. So that's general statement. That's broad. And that broad statement is not true for 100% of humans. And therefore, an exception was made. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, except those who believed. وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, and they did righteous deeds, and those who advise each other with the truth, and they advise each other with patience. Sometimes, though, like in this case here, the exception came right along with the generality. Innal insana lafi khusr. The human is in a state of loss. Illa alladhina amanu, except those who believed, etc. So the exclusion here is, it came along with the general statement, but doesn't always happen like that. Sometimes a general statement is given and there is no exclusion attached to it. And the exclusion is still valid though. It's just a general statement. So what are you going to do here when someone says a general statement? You're going to argue with him because he wasn't specific? Don't argue with him because he wasn't specific. Rather, if it's valid generality, then just flow with the generality. It's a valid statement. Understand the meaning and understand the point and move forward. Don't harp on his words. No, you can't say, no, it's not true 100% of the time. If he didn't say, this is the case 100% of the time. So if he didn't say that, then you don't have to argue with him and say, no, it's not true 100% of the time. It's as if you don't get the point, actually. And now you're stuck. And the conversation can't go forward. Exceptions are even valid in confessions and divorces. That's a benefit for you. Extra benefit taken from fiqh. Exceptions are even valid in confessions. Like if you said to the Muslim judge, I owe Fulan $1,000. That's explicit. Now your intention is irrelevant. Your intention itself is meaningless because you just said an explicit statement. I owe Fulan $1,000. So the judge is going to say, okay, pay him his $1,000. Next case. Well, what if you said, I owe Fulan $1,000 except 50? Or $1,000 minus 50? Then this means you're confessing to $950. So exceptions or exclusions are valid in confessions. That's religious judgment. If you made a confession and in that confession was an exclusion, this exclusion does not invalidate your confession. And divorces also. Exceptions can be made from divorces. Like if he says, I divorce you 3 times except 2 times. So that means I divorce you 1 time. Now, why would someone talk like that? For some reason or another. Most important, though, is that you understand the meaning. And let's stop there. And we're still going to finish talking about communicating, insha'Allah ta'ala. But we have a couple scenarios coming up, some examples of how to put statements together. Sometimes seems like 2 statements are contradicting each other, but they're not really. So how do you put them together? Insha'Allah ta'ala, if Allah enables us to gather next week, we'll go over that. Do you have any question I can answer for you? You said, can you repeat when he said about repeating things and it is like a lie? Yes. The Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam said, كفى بالمرء كذبا أن يحدث بكل ما سمع. It's enough of a lie for a person to say everything he was told or everything he heard. It's enough of a lie for a person to tell everything he heard. That means not having a filter is blameworthy. Don't be a fool who speaks indiscriminately. Guard your tongue. You're welcome. It's known that one of the qualities of the intelligent person is that he is silent. We said saying good is better than being silent. That's true. The intelligent one, though, his nature usually is that he's silent a lot. Doesn't talk a lot. That one who's quiet, you got a circle of some people, you got some workers, co-workers or something, or classmates or something, or some siblings. That one who doesn't speak a lot, probably that one's clever one. I mean, wa iyyakum. So you intelligent Muslim, you intelligent Muslim and you intelligent Muslimah, do observe lengthy silence. That's sunnah. Yes, saying something good is better than being silent. Sometimes you don't have anything good though, so just be silent. Don't just talk. Some people, they just talk because nobody else is talking. Say, ain't nobody's talking. Let me talk. Somebody should be talking. Yes, narrated by Muslim. That version. There's other versions of it. Some versions say, Kafa bil mar'i ifma. It's enough of a sin for the person to tell everything he heard. Tayyib.
Sheikh.
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Can you break down the issue of like when a person makes their intentions or they do something like as far as praying or making wudu, and they make their intentions and it might be wrong, but they say Allah knows my intentions or things like this. Like some people say this all the time. Can you break that down, please?
Yes. I mean, wafikum, the religious worships have conditions and integrals for them to be valid. Our intention alone is not enough to make a deed valid to Allah Ta'ala. Don't do something and just say, Allah knows my intention. The one who says, Allah knows my intention, Did he find an ayah in the Quran that says, don't worry, Allah knows your intention? There's no ayah from the Quran that says that. Or did he find a hadith that says that? No. So who's going to tell you, don't worry, Allah knows your intention? The devil's going to tell you that because he knows that that's the way to be a failure, to not worry. And Allah knows your intention. God knowing your intention is not enough to make the deed valid. You have to actually learn how to do the deeds properly, the prayer, the purification, whether it's wudu or ghusl or istinja, how to pray, how to tell the prayer times, how to determine your qibla properly, how to pay the zakat properly, how to fast properly, how to make hajj and umrah properly, how to sell and buy properly, how to get married and divorced properly. It's a condition for a person to learn how to do those things and then to do them in accordance with the rules. Not just to do something, whatever it might be, and then say, Allah knows my intention. This is not the way of a person who really cares about the validity of his deed. This is the statement of a person who doesn't like to be corrected. It's not the statement of a person who truly cares if the deed is correct. He just doesn't want to be corrected. For example, in the hadith of the man who invalidated his prayer, when he came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the masjid, and he said, "Assalamu alayka ya Rasulallah." And so the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Wa alaykum assalam, irji' fasalli fa innaka lam tusall." Go back and pray. You indeed did not pray. The man didn't say, "Oh, Allah knows my intention." And the Prophet didn't say, "Wa alaykum assalam. You didn't pray right, but Allah knows your intention." He told him, go back and pray. You did not pray. That's what he said. He didn't say, Allah knows your intention. He said, you did not pray. فَإِنَّكَ لَمْ تُصَلِّ. So the man went back and did it again. And the Prophet made him repeat it again. So he went and did it a third time. And then the Prophet told him again, repeat, you did not pray. So he said, I don't know how to do better than this. And for your information, some of the scholars said the Prophet wouldn't have told him to repeat again and again without believing that he knew how to do it right. So his telling him to repeat it was because he thought he knew how to do it right. But then the man told him, I don't know how to do better than this. Teach me. And then the Prophet taught him, alayhi salatu wassalam. Does that answer your question? Do you want to follow up with that?
I'm good.
All right.
Barakallah.
Ameen wa feekum. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك